I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving in me.
Now I am so excited to bring our dear Kailani Jackson up to the platform, and she is just going to fill us with her words of love and joy and wisdom and everything that she exudes on an everyday basis. So Kailani, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. I think I'm on. Am I on? Bob said I'm always on. So that gives, for those that don't know me, I'm always on. How many of you are always on? Right. I love being always on. I learned how to be always on by life experiences, right? Know what it's like to be in the valley of the shadow of death, right? Know what it is to be on the mountaintop. And when my husband transitioned in 2018, one of the things he had always taught me was live life to the fullest. So that's why I'm always on. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm living this life to the fullest. When you guys cremate my ashes, you will have said that girl fully lived. Absolutely. I have a timer too, because I'm a storyteller, and a lot of times I go over time. So just so you guys know, I'm not going to keep you an hour and a half. You're not going to be in the Baptist or Pentecostal church today, where we can go for hours and hours. But I just wanted to tell you all that I love you deeply. Thank you so much for who you are. Whenever I bring the message, you guys know I probably always cry for the first half a minute, just because it's such a privilege to be in a community of amazing people. And I always feel your love and your acceptance. So thank you for that. We're going to get going. I'm going to set my timer. And, it got a little beat to it, too. All right. So let's go to our first slide. And I do have, Kealoha is my slide transitioner, just so you all know. Thank Kealoha. Okay, she took us down completely. You're going to make me go. All right. There we go. Back the other way. Yeah. You'll get there. I trust you. All right. Yes. So I want to say thank you to Reverend Blaine, who is at home resting and recouping. He did get COVID when we were away at conference, as did other people. But we have a fellow conferencee here with us today, and we all just had such a wonderful time. And that's why I wanted to start, because being on the grounds of Unity Village was just such an amazing experience. I had never been there before. And to be in that space where the birth of what we believe in was formed and the principles established there. It was such a fun time. I met people from around the world. I've made lifelong friendships. My bestie was my roommate, Kealoha. We didn't have a pillow fight. But what we did do is, Kealoha knew I had a fear of popping champagne. And so, knowing me, and I don't like to live with any fear, she decided we're going to have a time where you're going to pop. I'm going to show you how to open. It's very precise. It's 6 turns on the bottle. Most people don't know that. If you turn 6 times, it releases that little hood thing. And then I just put a towel over it, popped it, and we were good. There's a picture of us popping champagne up there. But we had an amazing time. It was just amazing from beginning all the way to the end when we were dancing to Earth, Wind, and Fire on the dance floor. But it was amazing. And one of the things that impressed me so much being there was a newfound understanding of the Fillmores who formed Unity. One of the things that was so profound to me being there, I wanted to know more. And I started this process of diving into some of Fillmore's teachings. And I found this 313-page PDF called Prosper. And when I started going, I don't know how many of you have ever read that, but this man was so profound, such a mystic, such a person that understood that God was bigger than religion. God was bigger than the boxes of Christianity that some of us placed him in. And so one of the things that Fillmore said, and I was reading this before Reverend Blaine asked me to speak, and this is what he said. He said, the greatest teaching, the what teaching? The greatest teaching ever given is Christ in you, the hope of glory. And I was just meditating on that. That it was such a profound thing to me to just, I'd heard it many times, but I wanted to delve into it deeper. And as I was doing that, Reverend Blaine called. And so this is what I put together for you. We're going to take a look. Most of you know, as I say, your hope of glory. We're going to go from 2 Kings 4, verses 1 through 7. I am a storyteller, so I love to take principles and make them make sense out of story form, right? And so in 2 Kings, there was a widow, and we're going to talk about her. But what I mixed it with that I was reading were the 5 principles. And Michael Gott, who is a Unity minister, had a real easy way of putting the 5 principles, and we can always remember them. How many of you know the 5 principles? You've heard the 5 principles. It was put together by Connie Fillmore, who was the great-granddaughter of the Fillmores, and she put it together in 1990. And it was a basic principle of what we believe, what is strong and most important. And so Reverend Gott puts it like this. God is, repeat with me, God is, I am. Say that one more time. We slip up on that one sometimes, and we'll talk about that. I can. I'm equipped. I live it. That's easy, right? Sounds easy. All right. And the first principle I'm going to read, and there are different variations of the principles as you read through them. This is the one I found most easy. Principle 1, God is all there is, absolute good, active in everyone, everything, and everywhere. Wow. God is what? All there is, right? Active everywhere, good. Now, how many of you didn't necessarily grow up with a God like that? I grew up with no God. Yes. And I grew up with a God who sat somewhere watching like Santa Claus to figure out if you were naughty or nice. And if you were naughty and sin, absolutely started off, you were born in sin. It was like everything was already against you, right? And so that God was a very limited God. I call that a man-made God, a God that's in a box. But the truth that the Fillmores discovered and gave to us is that God is all good. God is everywhere, in everything, in all of us. And there is nothing that God can't do, right? There's no situation, there's no time, there's no conflict. We see all of that in the world. But God is everywhere, in everyone, in everything. How beautiful is that? Let's go to the next. So we're going to talk about, in the frame of these 5 today, about the prophet's widow. And this comes from 2 Kings 4, 1 through 7. And Elisha, who was a prophet after Elijah was the big guy. Elisha came after him. But Elisha was a powerful prophet that spoke the word of God and did miracles everywhere. And he had schools and ministers that worked with him. And so there was this man who was one of his ministers in one of his schools, who was a prophet, was going around doing good, and he died. And his wife came to Elisha and said, look, you know my husband served God, believed in God, knew that God is. Catch that? Knew that God is. And she found herself in great debt. Her husband had died and left her in all this debt. And the debt collector came to her and said, if you don't pay up, we're going to take your 2 sons and make them our slaves to pay off this debt. Now, how many of you know she's already in a desperate situation? Her husband has died. How many of you have ever lost anything? Have ever grieved for anything? You know that's not a great place to be in. So she's already in grief. Now the situation comes where she could lose both of her sons, right? And so she comes to Elisha believing that God is, and that between Elijah and God, somebody's going to fix this. That's what she's believing. Somebody is going to fix this. And so when she comes with hope, right? How many of you know what hope is? It is that expectation of a desired outcome. How many of you today have hope for something? Something needs to change, right? So you'll come to God because you know that God what? God is. And you know that God can work it out. We say that, right? God can work it out. How many of you have trusted God to work something out? Okay, I'm going to throw a curveball on you today. Okay, so she comes with hope. It's that expectation. And thank you. And then principle 2. So principle 2 says, we. Who? Are inherently good. Wait a minute. How many of you know some people that ain't inherently good? So you think, right? But the principle says that we all are inherently good, created in the image of a flower, created in the image and likeness of the divine, with the qualities, weight, and attributes of spirit. All of life is interconnected in unity and oneness. That's our second principle. Think about that. So God is, give me the next one. I am. Right? God is, I am. So could we say that everything God is, some things, a few things? Let that rest with you for a minute. Everything God is, I am. So we said a minute ago that we believe in God to work some stuff out, right? Now watch this curveball. Go back for me one more time. Thank you. The lady came to Elijah and said, this is my situation. You and God fix it. Elijah replied to her, how can I help you? What? Now, Elijah metaphysically is that higher self that we are, that representative of God. This woman represents our human lower self, that self that gets angry, throws tantrums, cuss people out, feels hopeless and despair, not knowing how anything is going to work out. That's our lower human self, our soul, right? But Elijah is that higher sense of us. And the higher sense of us said to her, how can I help you? What? Tell me, what do you have in your house? What kind of sense did that make? I just told you my husband's dead and they're coming to get my kids. And you're asking me, how can you help me? And what's in my house? Is he talking about a physical house? He's like, what you got in here? Because everything God is, what do you have in there? Maybe you're not aware. Maybe you're not paying attention. But I said everything that God is, you is, that ain't correct, but y'all know what I mean. You is, and what do you have in your house? And she says, your servant has nothing. Wait a minute. How many times have we been in desperate situations, hopeless situations, hard times? When we look around the world, we're living in very hard times. That's a reality, right? So she says, when he says, what's in your house? She says, no thing, nothing. That's a problem. That's a problem. She said, your servant has nothing there at all. So maybe part of our situation sometimes is we're recognizing God is and waiting on God to fix it. But God is saying, use them. Use them. And when we ask what's in the house, nothing, she said, except a little oil. And the oil is a representation of the Spirit. So that's telling us that she was really low on what she knew to be the truth. All right, let's go to the next one. That I am part. She was missing that part. Principle 2. Okay, go for me one more time. Okay, principle 3. Let's see how we rocking through here. We, who? So we already know God is, and I am. I am everything God is. I am everywhere present. Oh, wait a minute. I can be everywhere present in the world? Number 3 then says I can, right? We create our life experiences by what we choose to think, feel, and believe. Our consciousness is cause. Oh my God. Don't you dare tell me that my situations is my doing. We don't like that part, right? That's the responsibility part. That's the part where the I am in us has to step up and take charge. Because everything we think, feel, and believe. What? Third principle, everything we think, feel, and believe creates the experiences of our lives. So, let's go on, see what she's about to do. So, Elijah says to her, this is what we're going to do. I want you to go around to all of your neighbors, not a few, to all of your neighbors and get pots. And she told him she had a little oil in the house. That's all she had. And he says, go get pots from all your neighbors. And don't get a few. Get a lot. How many times when we have trouble, if God ourselves or something wants to put somebody else in to help, we run? How many of us don't like relying on people? How many of us don't like telling our business? How many of us sure ain't about to go to some of our nosy neighbors and ask for some pots? Nope, I won't do it. So we can have hope, but then when the Spirit comes to us with instruction, we got a choice. Nope, that's our first response, especially if we only got a little oil. We only got a little oil, and we get that instruction. This is how you're going to get out of this. We're like, nope, that ain't the way. That's the devil. But how do we respond? What does principle 3 say? I can. Who can? So wait a minute. She comes to him in this desperate situation, knowing that God is. And Elijah says to her, you am. And what I'm telling you to do, you can do it. Oh, wait, I got to read principle 4. Okay, so we got God is, I am, I can. Now, principle 4. Let's go on. I'm equipped. Thank you. Somebody's remembering. Good. So principle 4 says, through the power of affirmative prayer. What kind of prayer? Begging prayer. Unbelieving prayer. I'm going to say something, but I really don't have faith that it's going to come to pass prayer. The prayer that mama used to pray, sweating down on her knees, prayer. Some of them was good prayers. Yeah. It says affirmative prayer. We connect with Father, Mother, God's Spirit, and co-create good in life. Wow. Wow. So God, who is everywhere and everything and good, makes sure that we were everywhere, ever present with good. And that as we connected in prayer, and that prayer is to strengthen us. God doesn't need any strength, right? God, the divine spirit, doesn't need any strength, does it? It doesn't need any faith. People say the God kind of faith. God don't need faith. What does God need faith for? We need faith, our human self. But think about that. God invested all of that in you. And he said, she said, I like both of those, that when you come in affirmative prayer, knowing that God is, knowing I am, knowing you can, you then speak forth what is your answer. And you create in good what it is that you're believing and seeking. All right, let's go to our next one. And so Elijah, after he told her to gather all these pots from the neighbors. She obeyed, got the house full. And Elijah gave her a command. He said, go in and shut the door. You and your sons be in that house. Now, that's what prayer does. It is a shutting away from the distractions, the noise of yourself and other people that say, nah, that ain't gonna work. You done got all these pots. What you bringing all these pots in the house for? What are you believing for? That's kind of crazy. You done borrowed pots from the neighbors. And then he said, go in and shut the door. Be in there, you and your sons. He said, and what I want you to do is take that oil you got and start pouring it in the pots. Now, she said she only had a little oil, right? But she starts pouring into all of these pots, and the oil keeps going, and she's just pouring and tells her son, bring me another pot. He said, Mom, that's it. We don't have no more pots. And right then, the oil stopped. That oil is a representation of spirit, of God is. God is, and I am. I can. I'm equipped. And she poured and poured and poured. And then her and the sons, they were just having a good old time. Think about that. You're in the house, you watching a miracle. If you was in front of somebody and saw their legs where they didn't have no legs start coming out, you'd be shouting a little bit. Like in the old church, I wish I could dance for y'all. I can't dance. I used to could do a little. You'd be dancing. All right. Principle 5. Understanding and living these truth principles, we make a positive difference in our lives and in the world. Miracles. How many of you need miracles? What it's a contradiction. What a miracle is this is the reality, and a contradiction comes to that reality that is greater than that reality. We know the world needs a miracle. We know we need miracles. And if God says that everywhere his spirit is, there is good, then we can be that impact in our own lives, in our community, and the world. We need miracles. I need some miracles. So the principles have taught me God is, I am, I can, I'm equipped. And what's the last one? I live it. It's not just enough to hear it. We got to do what? We got to live it. So this is just a representation of her having this wonderful experience, living out the 5 principles. After that, she came back to Elijah. Elijah said, now what I want you to do is take enough oil to the creditors, debtors, pay off the debt. Get out of that situation. Everybody hear that? Get out of that situation. You got what you need. Do you have what you need? Yeah. Get out of that situation. Now I want you to live off the rest. That's the God divine, the mother that is in us, everywhere present. Your hope of glory. So hope, as we said, is that expectation of a desired outcome. And glory is the full manifestation of God. So when Fillmore said the greatest lesson is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Christ, the mindset, the divinity, the attributes of the divine. Christ somewhere in you. Do you lack anything? Do you lack a solution? Do we lack a solution to what's going on in the world? No. No. Because Christ in you, God in you, is the hope of glory. I want you to remember that. You are my answer. Did it say we're all interconnected? Yes. I'm your answer. We are connected. So as we live out these 5 principles, God is, I am, I can, I'm equipped, I live it. We show up in the world. And everything that we need, everything the world needs, is done. Namaste. Call up Patricia for our meditation. Let's say our affirmation one more time. If you all will say it with me. I am a glorious and creative force in the world, and my presence fills the world with an expectation of good, love, and peace. Patricia for our meditation.
Take a moment and breathe in what you've heard, perhaps what you've felt inside as you heard these inspirations, these words of wisdom, these truths from the unity's viewpoint of what is. And as you connect within, where all that is already resides, lives, and expresses as, notice what occurs in your mind. Nothing to do with it or change it or believe it or let it go. Just notice. And while noticing that, watch your breath. Notice it also. And then bring your focus and attention and intention into your heart space. Now we often, when we think of heart, we believe that this organ that's beating.
I did it 4 times.
Let's celebrate with her. That's a huge thing. And notice the timer went off around heart. Just sit with that. And come into your heart. However that is for you. There's no right or wrong or up or down. What do you feel like? What do you notice when you are in your heart? Yeah. Your mind's pondering that. Let it do that. And as you put your focus and attention into your heart, whether it's your physical beating heart, or the field that is your heart, or the energy that you live in that is of your heart, all of the above and maybe things I can't even think of. Your heart. That's where God lives. Or so we're told. You determine that for yourself. God, Spirit, Goddess, all that is, the universe, existence, life, yeah, all lives and emanates from this center of our being in our physical body. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment or so. Be with, be in, live from this that is here, right now. Yeah, snuggle down into that. This I am, that I am, right here, right now, inside. Feel that. Feel this that I am. And from this that I am, that expresses through us, as us, at all times, regardless of appearances, affirm that for yourself. And know, believe, feel, and imagine that you are this expression, moment to moment, breath to breath, thought to thought, and action to action in the world. Yeah, the mind wants to argue with that truth. That's okay. Come back to this truth. Come back to this feeling of truth inside of you, simply by following your breath. The miracle of life, breathing. We have miracles with each breath that we breathe. So it's not some mysterious thing that we have to go find or get. It is here. Our miracle is here now as our breath. And then gratitude arises and says, yes, thank you, God. Thank you, God. I am the miracle. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Patricia. You know, I'm thinking of all of these words that we have heard today, hope and glory and miracles and believing in yourself and trusting. This sanctuary that we're sitting in right now is such a place of peace. And just being able to come to a place of peace like this every day, and every Sunday in particular, it just fills me with so much joy to know that this is a safe place for us to come and to be filled with so much spirit, the love of God. And I guess a segue into that is that we are going into our offertory and giving right now. And I know I, for one, am just so grateful for this space, and I hope that everything that you have heard so far today gives you the same feeling of peace and certainly prosperity, because it is so much about giving. You can expand your consciousness of having all of your needs met by becoming a giver. This is how we prime our spiritual pump and practice the law of circulation. When you give, you are enforcing your consciousness by affirming that you have something to give. And when you believe and know that you have something, then more comes to you. And Kailani, what you just gave us in that talk, my goodness, I mean, that was, yeah. I mean, if that's not giving from the heart, I do not know what is. Thank you so, so much. Oh, look how much you gave to us. Gosh, thank you so much. And if you would like to donate to Unity on Maui, you can go to our website, www.unityonmaui.org, and click on the donate button. Or you can send your offering to Unity on Maui, 483 South High Street, Wailuku, Hawaii, 96793. And so as we get ready for the offering, I just want to say we give thanks for all of the gifts that are coming into Unity on Maui right now. We know that they are transformed into our ministry, our staff, equipment, new technologies, and all manner of ways that Spirit is expressing as us to grow and be of greater service to humanity at this time in history. Our music, our speakers, just everything about what goes on here. As we give, we catch the feeling that all of our desires are met. And we know that this is so. Oh, it's up there. And so as we get ready for the offertory, let's all say our offertory prayer. Through a grateful, giving heart, my mind and life overflow with the abundance of God's all-providing, infinite supply. And thank you, Joy, for having taken up the offering. Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, thank you for taking up the offering, and we bless these donations that have come in from each of you. Thank you all so very much for your kindness and for your generosity. Thank you, Joy. And let's see. Let's see. As far as flowers go, these were donated by Al last week, and we are continuing to enjoy them this week. So thank you once again, Al. And Jessie gets another happy birthday shout out for her, doesn't she? Okay, and you can sign up to bring flowers on Sundays, and there's a sign-up sheet on the back table, so just pick a date and let us know who or what you are honoring. And I just wanted to say real quick one thing that I have loved country music, like all of my life, and that's all about storytelling. And the storytelling that you do, the country stuff is, my dog died and my truck broke down and all that kind of stuff, but the storytelling that you do is just so uplifting, and you are just such a remarkable storyteller, so thank you for injecting that, the hope and the glory into all of that. It's just wonderful. Yeah. So our dear Reverend Blaine will be back next week, woohoo! And his talk title will be in next Thursday's E-Blast. And I think I talked about this last week. If any of you are not getting the E-Blast from the church, it's just a matter of giving us your email address, and then it will go out every Thursday. And then Joy is in charge of that. There's Joy right back there. You can just let her know what your email address is. She'll put you on the list, and it's filled with the announcements and events that are going to be taking place from week to week in the church. Very informative. So there's Joy showing the form that you can fill out. And yes, it's really very informative. So yeah, do that. Okay, well, I think, there it is again. There is so much magic. My goodness. Well, so the prayer for protection, as you can see, it is up here. So if you'd all like to stand, and we can all say the prayer for protection together. So the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is.
Where I live, they're all raised